Okay guys, we are going to do some history. This is just a review, and then we're going to read some books after this, okay? We went over this a lot, so I'm sure you guys remember this, but this is the first grade history, and this is a review, okay? All right, the beginnings of America as we know it. Before the people from Europe came over, remember? There was a lot of people from Europe that came over to this country that we now call the United States of America. But back in those days, there were just Native Americans, what we sometimes called Indians. It comes from the word indigenous. That means that they were there first. Okay? All right. So remember, they were sailing across the world because they thought that the world was flat. And they thought they were going to somehow get to India. I'm not sure why that they thought that. But then they discovered that the world was actually a big ball and it was round. And they also discovered a place called the United States. There's debate about this now, but Christopher Columbus is the one who started out, and he's the one who discovered the first of the Americas right down here. In Central America is where he landed. And he was coming from the country of Spain. Okay? A lot of the pilgrims of the first people that were in America came from all these countries in Europe. Okay? A lot of them came from the United Kingdom, England. All right, so this is where the Mayflower was coming from. All right, this is not what the Mayflower looked like. But what happened was they floated across the Atlantic Ocean. They meant to go somewhere down here where Virginia is, but they got pushed all the way up to where Massachusetts is. The winds were blowing so hard that they went up here instead of down here where they were meant to go. So this was somewhere in Massachusetts, where Massachusetts is now. And they landed there, and that's where they had the first Thanksgiving. That's where Squanto helped them. They wouldn't have been able to survive that first winter if the Native Americans hadn't helped them. And then they taught them how to grow corn and all that good stuff, remember? So this is the history of our United States. All right, let's do a little bit of review. All right, put our Mayflower over there. My America and my world. You guys are gonna remember a lot of this, I'm sure. Ooh, there's our states. You guys remember those? Oh, and the American flag. Remember how it used to have a circle right here? And those are for the 13 colonies. We were one of those, North Carolina was. And then they kept adding states. And now we have 50. The stars and the stripes. There's 13 stripes. 7 red and 6 white. There's 1 stripe for each of the first 13 states. The flag has 50 white stars in the field of blue, 1 for each of our state of our country. See, they just left the 13 stripes from the first 13 states, but they added the stars. A lot of the people were coming for freedom of worship. A lot of those countries told the people that they couldn't worship God the way that they felt they were supposed to. They told them that they had to obey their laws instead of God's laws. It's a lot of freedoms that we have in our country. There's our dollar bill. And there's the seal, the great seal of our country. Ooh, there's our eagle. Remember that his wingspan is 40 inches for each wing. It's really big. We measured that on the board one day. And there's the Liberty Bell. See the crack in there? It's 25 years older than our nation. There's Uncle Sam. We talked about him. He's just a symbol of our government. So when you hear Uncle Sam, that just means the government. You don't use that too much anymore, actually. There is the Statue of Liberty. Remember how she's made out of copper, but she turned green? Over the years, the acid in the rain makes that happen. And do you remember that there's stairs going up? All the way up into the crown. And you can walk all the way up there. There's also a ladder that goes up her arm, but it's too dangerous to climb up there. Remember how the stairs, they don't just go straight up, they go in a circle. They spiral all the way up. If you go too fast, you get dizzy. That is very true, because I have done it. There she is. There's our money. Remember? Pennies, nickels. Pennies 1, nickels are 5, quarters are 25, dimes are 10, and that's a $50, which is 50 cents. Half of 100. These are the great people of America. That's more what the boat looked like. See how those big masts and sails? It was a hard journey. All the way across. There wasn't that much food. People got kind of sick. It took months to get over too on the Mayflower. Oh, there's the first Thanksgiving. That's not a real picture, the first Thanksgiving. Those are people reenacting it. See, those are the Indians, or the Native Americans. And those are the Pilgrims. That's how they used to dress back in those days. This was about 400 years ago, back in 1621. See that? And the first Thanksgiving didn't last for 1 day. It lasted for 3 days. Here is our first president, George Washington. It was said that he believed in God very much and trusted him, and that's why he was such a good president. There's our Constitution. Those are laws that make up our country and make things fair, or they're supposed to. There's Paul Revere. That's who he was warning everybody that the British were coming. Remember, the British are the people from England, and they didn't want their people leaving over there and coming over here. They wanted to own America too, but the Pilgrims didn't want them to. They wanted to have their own free country. Ooh, is that our favorite? One of our favorite presidents? Abraham Lincoln. Remember, he was born in a little cabin in Kentucky. Kentucky was one of the first 13 states, the original colonies. Here's a picture of Abraham Lincoln. He's reading. Later on, he's going to be a really good president. Remember that story of him where he saved the turtles from those mean boys? I think they were lighting fire to their back or something like that, putting hot rocks on their back to make them move faster. I think that was the story, and he saved them. He was a very good president. His face is on the penny, right? Okay, and this is just America growing. We're going to read some more stories about that, how things changed, the way that travel changed. It's one of the first cars, one of the first airplanes. You know that North Carolina, the Wright brothers, they invented the airplane. It took them a while. They crashed a lot, but they finally invented it. And that's one of the things North Carolina is known for. There we go. All right, I think that's pretty good for now. Going on into our national parks and the really cool things. We have really cool stuff in our country, and we've studied a lot about that and watched lots of YouTube videos and all that stuff. Okay? All right, so I think that's good for now. We're going to read some more specific books later about different parts of the history of our country.